Do you believe that violence is ever justified to achieve political goals? Well, according to a recent YouGov survey that many of you have probably seen at this point, 25% of self-identifying very liberals would say yes, absolutely. And that's compared to 6% of conservatives, and even less when it comes to very conservatives. Why is that? Why is it that the side that constantly preaches tolerance, peace, and inclusivity are the ones most open to resorting to violence and justifying it for their political aims? Well, I'm going to give you my perspective really quickly, and it's not that they're evil. It's not that they are looking for ways to hurt innocent people deliberately. And believe me, that's actually that is a better case than what I'm about to share with you. What I'm sharing with you is far worse, far more dangerous. It is specifically the self-righteousness on the left. This emotional righteousness, this thought that their ideas aren't just better, but they are the ultimate good. They are the good. There is no other. It is them. And that's extremely dangerous for anyone to think about themselves or any ideology. Because when you elevate your ideology to the ultimate good, you automatically cast anybody who disagrees with you as evil. Not mistaken, not misguided. Evil. And if you've convinced yourself that you're the force for good fighting evil, suddenly, violence becomes acceptable. Suddenly, violence becomes a form of justice. I think an interesting comparison to make here is, especially for those of us who are Christians, we look to the gospel as that ultimate good, but it's different because I think, especially for those of us who are striving and fighting to be good Christians, there's this sense of humility that comes with that we recognize that while what we believe and what we're striving for is that good, that we ourselves are fallible. We ourselves are susceptible to the passions of the flesh. And I think that's a very good thing because it helps us not become overly righteous, overly arrogant in our beliefs, in our work. Whereas I think with the left, they don't have that. That's part of the problem. If we turn to a more secular analysis of this, we can look at Carl Jung. And Carl Jung was, phenomenal psychiatrist, psychologist, really field defining. And he spoke of this concept called the shadow. And it's more than just darkness. There are aspects of repressed creativity, those sorts of things. But I want to focus on the darker sides of the shadow, which are more often talked about. It's the darker side of our human nature that we each carry. And he argues that, truly wisdom, morality, it comes from integrating that shadow. It comes from recognizing, yes, we are capable of evil. Each and every single one of us, no exception. We often look to historical events, figures, and we say, well, we'd never do that. We would have been on the right side. We would have stood up. And I think we often need to get comfortable with the fact that no, we are capable of those evils ourselves. But you see, the modern left denies their shadow. They refuse to accept their own capacity for harm. But when they believe themselves incapable of evil, what they're doing is justifying heinous actions, heinous responses, action without hesitation. That's why you see the mainstream media and people on the left, whenever these left-wing riots break out, that they get called mostly peaceful protests. Because in their mind, That's what's going on. It's mostly peaceful. They are being so restrained. They are fighting so much against evil. This is such a restrained movement. It could be far worse in their mind. They are fighting the good fight, and they are not being violent. They are just doing what's necessary to uphold goodness. And that's far more dangerous than the alternative. It's why dissenting voices have been silenced, censored, and threatened, and had their lives taken. Because the leftists convince themselves that they are so righteous that anything that's done in the leftist name must and can be justified. It's a lot more dangerous than open malice. And that's really the main point I want to drive home here. It is a lot more dangerous than someone openly wanting to hurt you for the sake of hurting you. An enemy who knows they're wrong can be reasoned with. Even if it's someone we vehemently disagree with, even if it is someone who is being violent, if they know what they're doing is wrong, if they know the action they're taking is wrong, we can do something about that. But an opponent who truly believes they are the embodiment, the physical embodiment of good, and that you are evil, they'll stop at nothing. That is what the data reveals, and that is what our country is up against. You know, we need to bear in mind, there's a big difference between your leftists and your liberals. Now, leftism is becoming far more mainstream. It's what the media is pushing out. It's spoon feeding. It's what we're seeing the Democratic establishment become. But it's a lot different than those who proclaim themselves to be liberals. And I'm talking about the folks who, you know, their biggest gripe is they want to see the highest tax brackets be a little bit higher. They want, to move closer in the direction of Medicare for all, universal health care, but they're not really all that militant. Maybe they're a bit laissez-faire on social issues, but they're not really all that militant by today's standards. Truly, they're more of a moderate than anything else. I'm talking about the true radical leftists here. If we want to preserve freedom, if we want to preserve liberty, free speech, all of our rights, we have to reject this ideology of self-righteousness and call violence what it is: evil, destructive, and un-American. No matter who does it, left, right, center, the left can pretend to deny their shadow and their capacity for wrong, but we must not. Because only by confronting our own capacity for wrong can we ensure that we choose what is right.